anybody who's building a business, just record yourself. Screen record yourself, creating whatever it is that you have to create over and over again. Somebody somewhere is it, like whatever you're building, you have to build a new landing page, or you have to build a new marketing email, or you have to do this or that. Screen record yourself doing that, and now you have training, and now you never have to do that task again. Things are absolutely going to hit the fan. Like, things are going to go wrong, you're going to fail. Like, you're going to you build something all the way up for it to just be kicked over like a Jenga block, and can you keep going?
Yeah.
Can you say, okay, objectively, that sucks?
Yeah.
A lot.
For sure.
That's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. And I'm going to be sad about it for a moment. I'm going to take a deep breath, and I'm going to stay in the same direction. WPBA, they're the first Black women-owned FIBA certified league in California. Fatima A, who created that league, she created it for women's college basketball players who graduate, who finish their college career, and they really want a chance to go play overseas and fulfill their dream of being a pro, but just don't know how. And so she's provided a space. She's created 8 teams that she manages. Wow. So she provides film, stats, connections to agencies, all of those things. What is the women's experience in coaching? And to be honest, the women's experience in coaching is being asked to speak at a player development conference about what it's like to be a woman, and not my expertise that everybody else here got to talk about. In truth with love, if you guys want to empower my voice, ask me about basketball. That's how we go about changing the game.
What's up, you guys? Welcome back to the Stats to Assets podcast. Today, I'm here talking pro basketball, pro shooting, talking business, talking women's basketball. I'm sitting here with somebody that I've been stalking a little bit. I always stalk my guests, so I did it again on LinkedIn. I'm sitting here with Brianna Joy Garza. What's up, Coach?
What's up? Yeah.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you. And to be fair, she has been really, really consistent in reaching out on LinkedIn. You hit me, I guess, right before I really started gearing up for the conference. So I was like, hit me back in 30 days. So she did. And I still didn't get back to you. So yeah, no, I appreciate like your consistency in getting us here. Getting to learn about you a little bit the other night was just wonderful. So yeah, happy to be here.
Really cool. Me too. I'm glad we got to cross paths when you were here in Austin. When I saw you I think I first saw you on LinkedIn and then tried to find other content, and I just loved what you were doing. I loved that you were teaching women's basketball, and you just look really like professional, like you know what you're talking about, right? And I love sharing the backstories and backgrounds of people like yourself. So, women's basketball fan, of course. Got to get my ladies out here. But Coach, for anybody that doesn't know, who you are and what you do, can you kind of give us a little backstory, who you are and what you do?
Yeah. I am a professional shooting coach. My job is to find athletes wherever they are at whatever level. I've coached from tiny tots all the way up to pros, just how to be a better shooter, how to shoot better, and how to believe in themselves through the medium. And so really what I like to say is that that's the meat and potatoes of what I do, is teaching people to believe in themselves through the medium of shooting. Because if you can learn that in this safe space of basketball, the stupid orange ball, then that really, the ripples of that become much, much bigger. So yeah, I'm a shooting coach by trade and just a teacher through and through underneath that.
Yeah, and so tell us a little bit more about what it looks like to do what you do. So you travel all over the States, all over the world, and you're doing workshops. Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, so today is actually day 850 on the road for me. Traveling around doing this job, and it wasn't necessarily planned that way, but started with a 90-day tour doing camps. So I'll run camps and clinics both for athletes and for coaches, And I do that wherever the need is. And so generally what happens is somebody hits me up on Instagram or on LinkedIn and says, how do I get you here for a camp? And I say, well, you just ask. And then we jump on a Zoom call and we make it work. But yeah, day to day, you know, it looks a little bit different. Right now I'm building a lot of online products to serve just larger amounts of people, since I can't be everywhere that I want to be. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so 850 days of just building towards a curriculum that's simple for a pro to a tiny tot to really improve on the most important skill in basketball.
Dang. I'm gonna try to slide my shooting, my form to you.
Yeah, no, I'm so serious.
I'm excited.
I never get tired of talking about shooting. Literally never. I do shot breakdowns and stuff at least a few times a week with people from all over the world, just virtually. And that's the same thing I tell them is like, ask me whatever questions you have about shooting, because it's something I'm fascinated by. I never get tired of it. And then the relationship that it has, the confidence and how we teach that, it's super fulfilling. It's a fun freaking job. It's a freaking fun job.
Super dope. Really quick, like, are there any, when let's say you're teaching, I don't know, not elementary, middle school, college, and then pros, is there any issues, mistakes, or like things that all levels have trouble with at some degree?
Yeah. I think if we're looking at all levels, then the way they catch the ball is often the thing that is most consistently different. So like I was just observing a Division I team up in New Jersey, and you know, when you get to the D1 or pro level, your finish, right, your follow through is, for all intents and purposes, is going to be good. Right, they've repped that over and over again, the wrist action. And so, but what I saw was each time they caught the ball, their rhythm and their preparation was different. So sometimes they would catch and then load and then shoot. And sometimes they would catch and load at the same time and shoot. And sometimes they would catch, bring the ball in, and then prep and shoot. And so you don't realize how much complication comes from changing the very bottom starting piece of your shot, because we've always really paid a lot of attention to this up here. Not to say you couldn't manipulate the catch and learn to move through that, but if we want consistency across the board, then finding a consistent rhythm to where then you can vary it and manipulate around it, that's probably the most common issue I see on all three levels. For my tiny tots and young people that are learning to shoot, I think the most common issue is like chaos for hands, you know? Hands are just, there's like all kinds of stuff happening. And so at the bottom line, you know, you could have the perfect power generation, body sequence movements, but if you can't get your thing that aims everything to do the same thing or to feel comfortable every time, then it's going to be really difficult to make a lot of shots.
Yeah. So you played at Baker College, right?
Baker University.
Can you remember anything that you had to change to be more efficient or more productive with your shot in college?
Oof, nothing mechanically. Okay. I was always a pretty good shooter just because I stayed in the gym, but going into my senior year, that summer before my senior year, I read a book. It was my first book I ever read on sports psychology. It was called The Inner Game of Tennis by W. Timothy Galway. And when I read that book, he talked about separating the selves, like self one versus self two. And, you know, how self one is the judging mind, the one that learns, the one that, you know, gets mad, the one that gets happy, blah, blah, blah. And then self two is just the body that does. So learning how to separate those two things, and like when you go play and you're in competition, just to let your body do what you've trained it to do and be neutral in your thinking. Where if the ball went in or the ball did not, you just shrug your shoulders and say, how about that? And you keep it moving. And so shifting that allowed me to show up in a completely different way as a player, because now I wasn't letting the last play really impact what I was doing next. You know, if I made the shot or if I didn't, it was like I just called it in or out and didn't attach any judgment to that. because of that work I had done throughout the summer, along with some other stuff that I got from that book. But that was the major change I made, not necessarily in my shot, but in my thoughts.
Ooh, not in the
Bars.
shot, but in the thoughts.
Bars.
I love that. No, it's really, I think that's really key. I remember even shooting for free throws, like not my shooting, but especially with free throws. I had senior year, I had an issue, like just nervous about, I don't know, I wanted to make the WNBA and all these things, you know, and I hated getting fouled. I didn't want to go shoot free throws. It was the weirdest thing. But I think I made that switch of not judging myself for a miss or not, I don't know, putting myself in the place of like being scared to miss and not caring. So like that's something when I did coach, like I would try to teach kids to like try to not care about the result and just shoot your normal shot, you know, something like that. But it's very psychological.
Totally. I mean, I think it's really physical up until a point where you're good at shooting now. Like once you get good at shooting and you know how to make shots, I think then it's where it becomes more of, you know, a mental game of really just constantly reminding yourself of the fact that success is not linear, right? That we have this idea that success, like if you work really hard, you have success, and it's just one line. And with shooting especially, it's not like that at all. And so, yeah, that constant reminder, teaching athletes as you are learning this, as you are looking to get towards mastery in this, that you will absolutely have slumps where you're not going to make shots, you're not going to know what's wrong, and can you have the wherewithal to keep it moving through those things? And how can we as coaches support them in constantly reminding them that their worth isn't equal to their wins? And that's like all wrapped up in, first, like the baseline of understanding your own shot. It's really hard to improve upon something that you don't understand. And so that's where we start is, can you understand your own shot from a physics standpoint, mechanics, biomechanics, all of that? Then you have all the tools you need to really get good at it physically. And then from there, can you, like as you said, not put so much stress on the results and more stress on not the speed at which you're getting better, but the fact that each day you're moving in the same direction. Yeah.
Super dope. So what was it that made you choose being a shooting coach versus any other type of skill within basketball?
Oof, you know?
Because shooters shoot.
Yeah, because shooters shoot is right. Because shooters shoot. Man, I thought I wanted to do player development in college. And so that's what I got my degrees for. My first master's was in sport and performance psychology, but my emphasis was in skill acquisition and skill adaptation. Wow. And then from there, I took a gap year and decided, after a break, to get back into basketball by going in and being a GA at my alma mater, Baker University. And from there, I was learning, teaching, being in the gym, and I was working in an environment where there just wasn't enough joy in the gym for me. And it was the hardest decision that I ever had to make in resigning from that position at semester. So I only worked, college ball, this thing I thought I always wanted to do for a semester. Kept getting a degree that I had signed up for, which was instructional design in human performance technology. So I ended up with 2 masters from that, which is great. But like when I resigned from that position, I was sort of at this place where I could either go back to bartending and that's a good living and I liked people and all of that, or I could stay in basketball. So I was working for a company who just opened up a facility in Phoenix. And I was just like, well, I'm going to move to Phoenix. And so I packed up a U-Haul and I started driving and I called him on the way and I was like, yo, I'm on my way. If you want to hire me as a trainer, I'm going to be there. And they were like, okay. And so then, I remember walking into the building, walking up these stairs into this like big conference room where there was glass windows all around, and it was like one of the most professional spaces I'd ever been in. And I was sitting across from 4 men who were looking back at me, and I was sharing, I'm planning on coming here, training, helping you guys build the business. And it's so funny that this is such a core memory for me, in that it was the very first time I remember using my voice as a woman in the space.
If you are a coach, consultant, or a content creator, I want to work with you. I want to help you launch a paid online coaching community and scale your monthly revenue to $20,000 or more. If you teach, educate, or can create a life-changing transformation for your audience, I can help you monetize your expertise. So many creators like yourself that are experts in their fields are missing out on monthly revenue and leaving so much money on the table. And I no longer want that to be you. If you don't have a huge following, don't worry. With the systems I have created, we can still launch a successful and profitable community with a fire offer for your audience. I'm looking for 5 creators to partner with, and here's what I'll do for you. I'll help you do your market research to craft a great offer, optimize your social media and traffic sources, build and set up your school community, help you create your course, content, and digital resources, and I will manage and help you launch your community so that you can be well on your way to making $10,000 to $20,000 in the next 90 days or less. The best part is I do this work for you while you get to continue focusing on being a creator and a coach. DM me the word school, SKOOL, if you are ready to get started.
As a very young woman at that time. Oh. And I think I was 26, around there, 26, 27. And, because these men across from me were essentially kind of hinting that they were gonna put me at like a front desk, like admin type of position. And I remember, I don't know where it came from, but just looking across the table from me at them and being like, I intend to be a trainer here. I intend to be a trainer here. And they were like, okay, like you can be a trainer here. And so all of that happened. And the way that they finagled getting people's foot in the door at that gym was free 30-minute shooting workouts. And so and then it was up to us to convert them as a client. And so I had to get really, really good at teaching people how to feel like a better shooter in 30 minutes.
Wow.
And which is a hard thing to do.
For sure.
And so I just got reps, 10,000 hours, I would have like 14 of those a day sometimes, or it would be a 7-hour day of back-to-back 30-minute shooting workouts. And then I would go home and I would study it. And I just became fascinated with it, started to develop my own language around it, how to explain it. And then there was a moment in there where my friend Diego was introducing me to a client that he didn't want to work with, honestly, because their shot was bad. And he said, man, this is our shooting coach. And that was sort of where I started. That identification came from a friend of mine who believed in me. Yeah, okay. And so then I started calling myself a shooting coach, and that's sort of where it all started. And then October of that year, that was supposed to be a 3-year gig. I would still be working there today. But October of that year, the CEO flew down and told us that in December we were going to be out of a job, that they were closing the doors to the facility. They weren't going to renew their lease, and that we didn't do anything wrong. And, it was all like, it happens. Like, there was no bad blood there, but it was just an unfortunate case of collateral damage. And so I went home that night after another 14-hour day of training. And I just remember even on court all day that day, I just had the most fun with all of my kids, knowing I wasn't going to see them for very much longer. And so I went home that night and I sat on the front porch and had a good cry. Yep. And yeah, the idea just hit me. That felt like it was the thing that was building up from all the experiences I had in high school and college and after, of people just not believing in what I could do in shoot or shoot. So that's how the whole shooting coach element came to be, and then made a design and a t-shirt brand first. And then, yeah, it'll be 3 years of building that was October of 2021. So this October will be 3 years of building the business and a shooting coach. Who knew? You know? Who knew?
That's super dope. Can you talk about just your journey of actually building the business up till now, and like the branding, and like what does that actually look like for people that may want to graduate college and be a shooting coach or a specific type of coach within their sport? You know, what does that look like?
Yeah,
to start that.
For me, I had been doing, I'd been reading a lot online, and I came across a guy who has a newsletter. His name is David Perel, and there's a lot of his stuff that he writes that I like, that's kind of over my head. But there's one part of his writing that's consistent in that there's a niche on the internet for everything, and basketball is the most important skill. Shooting is the most important skill in basketball. And there were only a handful of people who were teaching it at a really high level. And so that was what I noticed, is I was like, okay, there's my niche. Like, this is what I can do. It's the micro inside of the macro. And then brand building, I sat with the idea of what I wanted to call it, I knew I wanted to build a brand for a long time, I just didn't know what. And so when you sit with an idea for long enough and really give it time to marinate, then, eventually you're gonna have something pop up. And Shoot or Shoot was that moment at the lowest point in my life. Shoot or Shoot came up, and then I just grabbed my laptop and started designing, found something I really liked, threw it on a t-shirt, and first made a t-shirt of it. It was just a t-shirt brand. And then building from there is hard. Like, it is really, really hard. It's 12-hour days of sitting behind a computer and feeling like you got nothing done, even though you're building the website and the email automations, and you're learning, you're spending time watching YouTube videos and working a breakfast job so that you could just pay for what you're doing. And I did all of this while I was on the road. And it's just, once you find something that calls to you, that not only can make you money, but can make a difference for people, can make you happy, can challenge you in ways you want to be challenged, then it's not your job that you're trying to do. Like, it's yours. Like, it's your choice to follow that or not. But it's like given to you. So either you follow it and you honor that, or you don't. And so after all of that happened and I had this idea, like this, it was just clarity. Like, this is what I'm supposed to do, and I'm just gonna let it be hard. Yeah. And that's what brand building is I built in public too. I was very vulnerable. I started writing online. If anybody's building a brand, getting your email list is so important, because your email lists are the only things that you actually own. Instagram owns your Instagram followers. Twitter owns your Twitter followers, or X, or whatever it's called now.
X, yeah.
Your email list, that is your voice and your voice alone. And so I wrote very vulnerably. And a technique in writing that I've used that I highly, highly, highly recommend is I picked one person to write to that I knew would like my stuff. So at the time I was training a semi-pro named Kiera, and Kiera just like always showed me love and flowers and thought that I was like, the best trainer ever. And so I knew that no matter what I wrote, Kiera would like, and there's a million other people who think just like Kiera. And so that helped me write clearly and without fear, because I would just write to her.
Yeah.
And then everybody else sensed the comfort that I was writing with, and being unafraid to share my story through all of the value I was bringing people as well. That's building a brand, is how do you build something that people can believe in with you as you're building it, even if you have no idea what you're doing. Because that's what running a business is I really have no idea what I'm doing most of the time. I just keep doing stuff. Again, direction, not speed. Right? Yeah. So we just keep it moving in that same direction and trusting that if you are going to be willing to go through hard stuff to keep this thing going, and understanding it's not about you at all. Those things have really pushed me forward in brand building.
Awesome. I laugh because I have heard that some entrepreneur or some other podcast say that they didn't know what they were doing the whole time.
It's really, we have this idea.
It's so true.
Yeah, when we go into a restaurant or a corporate or whatever, like we have this idea that, wow, these people really have it figured out. And it's like, no, we don't. We really don't. We're just figuring it out as we go, and we're unafraid to make mistakes. Like you were just talking about, not being results focused, and like I've made a ton of mistakes. Really it's expensive to make mistakes in business, and if you can understand your mistake and then fix it the next rep, I mean, that's how you achieve mastery in any skill, not just business, but that's how I teach shooting as well.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. So on your journey so far, has it been welcoming? Has it been fair as far as, you coaching basketball, women's basketball, and there's probably a lot of male coaches as well, right? How has the experience been?
Yeah, overwhelmingly positive.
Good.
Overwhelmingly positive. Most of I run a coaching community that we meet every other Tuesday, and most of the people in my community are grown men, men that are in their 40s, 50s, 60s that are interested in shooting at a really high level like me, and are absolutely unafraid to learn from somebody who doesn't look like them and is younger than them. Yeah. And that always just baffles me. I get on those calls and I hear about their kids, and I pour into their kids. I've met several of them because I've gone in their area and done camps, and so overwhelmingly the experience that I've had from males in this industry has been like love and respect and flowers, and how can I help? Can you come to a clinic over here? Because I think really good coaches who are men recognize how powerful it is for their girls to get coached by somebody who looks like them. Not just their girls, but their boys too, to get coached by an expert in the field who's a voice that isn't theirs. If I had a nickel for every time I heard a coach or a parent say they just need another voice, man, I'd have several nickels. I'd have several, yeah.
I've heard that a lot too.
Yeah.
For the entrepreneurs like yourself coming up, anybody that wants to start a type of business, what would be like maybe 5 actionable steps for them to actually, let's say, get their first camp going or get their first client? What do they actually need to do? Yeah,
I think social media is a free billboard.
Hey, if you are interested in monetizing your expertise as a coach, instructor, or consultant, join my free school community where I teach you how to create and launch your own school coaching community. I teach you how to build a monthly recurring revenue of at least $10,000 a month. With this same business model that I'm teaching you, other creators and coaches have scaled their revenue to $30,000, $50,000, or even $100,000 a month. If you can create a specific transformation for your audience, you need to have an online coaching business, and you need to start a community on school.com. Click the link in my bio, go through my free course to get started, and join my free group coaching calls to find your niche, how to do product market research, how to build and record your course content, and how to launch your community in 30 days or less. If you start your school community with my affiliate link, I'll throw in a few more bonuses for you to scale your business to $30,000 or more in 90 days. Okay.
To show people who you are and what you do. So that's one of the first things I started doing is I just started taking my socials really seriously. I posted every day.
Yeah.
And not because I thought I was going to get a ton of likes or anything on it. There's plenty of people I know who have little to no social media following, but people are still going to go to your social media page to see who are you, what do you do. So that's one actionable step is can you be consistent in showing people what you're doing? Second would, of course, be the email list thing. And a super simple way to get people on your email list is just to create something, some sort of tool that's, and spend some time on it, make it valuable, and then give that away for free in exchange for, hey, if you subscribe to my email list, I'm going to give you this free DIY shop breakdown guide, which is what I did. And so that's enough. Or even I've seen people give away a free video, quote unquote, that they already have on YouTube that you could just go look up by yourself. So even the act of giving something away makes people want to come and follow your brand. That would be the second thing. Third thing I gave earlier is just writing online, getting your email marketing, your sequences automated so you don't have to sit there and do it every time, just spending some time on that. Number 4 would be I did a ton of just outreach, like asking people who have been in the industry longer than me these sorts of questions, connecting with them, trying to bring value to them before I had any ask for advice or anything like that. I would, review their, all their teachings and stuff and say, hey, I really like this. On page 3, you actually misspelled this word, right? Something small like that shows a ton of incentive on like, hey, I just care about you and I want to learn from you. And not being afraid to just say like, I don't know how to do this. Can you teach me? Because we're teachers in this industry. Like, heck yeah, I can teach you. Like, thank you. I spelled that word wrong and I didn't want to. Like, thank you for doing that. Yeah, what do you need? Those would be like the very tangible things. And then the 5th one, we kind of covered earlier, is can you stack days? Can you stack days when you don't have any evidence in front of you that stacking is happening? And I was just this morning reading, Sahil Bloom is another writer that I follow. He writes twice a week, The Curiosity Chronicle, and it's so good. And today, my man went off. Oh, he went off. He quoted Seneca when Seneca was talking to a friend of his, and he said something along the lines of, don't try to escape moments of life that have dread or that are hard for you, because those are just like the taxes of life. And Sahil goes on to list off like 7 different taxes of life that we pay, and he said one of them was stress and anxiety are the tax of extreme ambition.
For sure.
And I read that and was like, wow, like there is a lot of stress and anxiety that is involved in trying to build something that's never been built before. And he likened it to bamboo, right? Bamboo can grow underneath the surface for 3 years, 10 years, 50 years, right? And you don't know, like you don't see it at all. And then the very next day you can come out and then within 24 hours, it's grown to 25, 26 feet, all overnight.
I heard that before. That's crazy.
Yeah. And so you never know which it's going to be. Some bamboos grow faster, some grow slower. But yeah, like meditating on that, in that article, I mean, he had a ton of good stuff. Like the other one was the tax on self-transformation is loneliness. And yeah, the price of doing business with the gods is loneliness. Is solitude.
Okay.
But it doesn't have to be loneliness, is what I have to say to that. Is maybe solitude would have been a better word than loneliness in that one. But yeah, all of that being said, like, can you just have something that makes you happy enough to wake up on a bad day and still want to grind on this thing? And sometimes you're going to have to manufacture it, which is what we learned as athletes, right? We're not always going to feel motivated, but we got to show up at 6 a.m. practice, even if we want to like throw ourselves down the stairs and act.
Not like, down the stairs.
Sorry, coach. I can't come. It's 6 a.m.
Dang.
Too far? Too much?
Too far.
Okay,
No. Yeah, for sure. It was, so my tip for myself was like, just get there. Just get to the gym and it just goes from there. Just get there on time. Maybe sleep in your jersey. A lot of my teammates did that.
Yeah. But I think, 5 a.m. practice. What else are you going to do?
Track. Especially track practice. Not even just get on the court, but go meet at the track. For what?
Oh, the track. You mean for basketball?
Yeah. Oof. Preseason, a mile.
Yeah.
It was the worst thing.
I had a teammate one time that we were doing sprint. It was like we were done a track workout, and the last thing we were doing was 20, 30-yard sprints or something like that.
Right.
20 of them. And he was like, this is the last thing we have. 20, 30-yard sprints.
30 yards.
And so I remember finishing the first sprint. We turned around to do the other one. I had a teammate go, okay, only 19 more. Only 19 more.
I just want to fall.
Yeah. Track workouts. I'm glad most.
How do we make it through those?
We've evolved. Well, I frankly didn't. Yeah, I did. I
didn't either. These
I threw myself down the
didn't
stairs.
even make it. I was on the side luckily doing like abs and stuff. Ooh, I couldn't have made it, boy. I could not. I did want to ask, was there any moment in your career where you were like, damn, is this really what I think I want to do, right? Because it got hard, or it just got, I don't know, some struggle you were trying to deal with.
Yeah, several
every day.
times.
No,
yes, yeah, no, several times. When it was December of 2022, actually, I had been on the road for about 7-8 months at that point, and I had gotten a long-term Airbnb just for a month in Dallas because I was working on building building content and with an app that I was working with formerly, and there was this moment where I had a choice to either buy a house and pay a mortgage, or invest in my team and hire somebody to help me and pay them fairly, which has always been something that's really, I've held close to me, is making sure people feel their value, not just in the words that we say, but tangibly in paying them in dollars, for their time. Another part of business is like, things are absolutely going to hit the fan. Like, things are going to go wrong. You're going to fail. Like, you're going to build something all the way up for it to just be kicked over like a Jenga block. And can you keep going?
Yeah.
Can you say, okay, objectively, that sucks?
Yeah.
A lot.
For sure.
That's the worst thing I've ever heard in my life. And I'm going to be sad about it for a moment. I'm going to take a deep breath, and I'm going to stay in the same direction.
Nice.
So that was one of the moments where I was like, I don't know if I want to do this. It would be so much easier to go back to bartending.
Slinging cocktails.
Slinging cocktails for, that's what I did in my gap year. I was a bartender at the Chili's in Decatur, Texas. Okay. Hi, welcome to Chili's.
Yeah, shout out.
Yeah, and it was good living. I liked people. I like connecting with people, and people go sit at bars to connect with people. So it worked out just fine, and being a shooting coach is cooler.
Okay.
It's cooler.
Quick question. That time frame where you got off that call about the non-compete and you found your differentiator, if I can talk today. Like, what was that time frame? When you figured out how to change your business model?
48 hours.
Nice. Okay. I was just curious.
Yeah, you turn it around.
Nice.
You keep it moving. Like, one of my favorite movies is Interstellar. Murphy's Law. Whatever can go wrong will go wrong, and it's about how we can respond. 48 hours. I let myself sit with it and be sad about it for a day. And I think that's important too, to not just like pretend things don't matter, because they do. Like, pretend things don't impact you emotionally, because they absolutely do. So I let myself sit in that and be sad and sulk about it for a day. And I think because I can really let myself sit in those things, then I think inside of that are where like epiphanies live. Because if you just try to put it away and keep going, then you're not really dealing with all of the things and the ideas that are swimming around. And I mean, it doesn't mean you ruminate and think it's the end of the world, but yeah, I've several times along this journey just really let myself sit inside of sadness, and inside, or at the, as in the coming out of that sadness, are where some of my best ideas have come from.
Absolutely. You really mean 24 hours. So you sat in your sadness for a day, you said, and then.
Yeah.
I'm being technical.
No, okay. Yeah, okay. Well, I mean, yeah, somewhere in there, 24 to 48 hours.
That's awesome. Turning it around.
Yeah, just, that's what it's like to run a business, is you pivot.
Yeah.
You pivot.
All right, Coach, you got some cool stuff popping. So tell us about your app that you've been developing, and then I definitely want to talk about Changing the Game nonprofit, right?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Man, the Shooters Shoot training app is an idea I've been developing for, the last 4 years. Since I really started leaning into this shooting coach thing, I've always known I wanted to have some sort of resource that was just better than what we currently have out there. And I've used training apps and I've used, training programs, and there's always this element of like, either they're too much, there's like way too much to do on each day, and then it becomes too intense. And then, on the other hand, sometimes it's too easy. And it's like, I think the mark of a true teacher is when you can train an intermediate and an expert in the same room. And so that's through, sports psychology, skill acquisition, the psychology of happiness, which I studied at length in grad school, and then obviously the curriculum I've developed around the science of shooting and how we use physics in that. All of that I just built with in the back of my mind, knowing I wanted to build something from all of this information. And so I was in Cleveland last year, right before the conference, the Changing the Game conference at the Women's Final Four. It was our first year, and I remember I was on the phone with a friend of mine, and we were just talking through all the things, and the idea of the structure hit me. Again, sitting with an idea for long enough to let it marinate and become what it really can become. And I jotted it down, I scribbled it, and I looked at it, and I was like, this is it. And so the Shoot or Shoot app, we're still in the beta phase, so we won't launch the daily shooting until December 1st is our very ambitious launch date, December 1st, 2024. And it's each day covers shooting holistically. So first you get a little piece of science, like 90 seconds to help you understand what it is you're working on that day. And then you're assigned a deliberate focus for the day. So in sports psychology and skill acquisition, a deliberate practice is finding a micro skill within the macro skill to improve upon, so that if you improve upon all the little micro skills, then the macro skill gets better. That, and the second part to deliberate practice is just understanding the mistake that you made, so that you can fix it the next rep. So we teach them understanding first, and then we give them a deliberate focus for the day. So for example, right now in the beta, the deliberate focus for the day on day 1 is stacking your body up, ankles, hips, and shoulders. And through all of their reps, so I wrote them a workout of different types of shots, but the workout itself can be really arbitrary, because it doesn't matter what kind of shots you're taking. If your deliberate focus is stacking your body throughout all of these shots, then you're getting better at stacking your body. Whether the shot goes in or it doesn't really matter to me. Are you getting better at your one thing? Right. So we have those pieces of it. And then the very last thing they're assigned each day is an act of light. So there's a ton of research on the correlation between higher levels of wellness and higher levels of performance. So, in short, happy shooters tend to make more shots.
Okay.
And so how do we train that part of it inside of an app? And so I created an act of light that they're assigned each day. So on day 1, for example, after they finish their workout, they look at their act of light, and it's take 60 seconds to text somebody in your phone a piece of gratitude. Somebody you maybe wanted to thank a long time ago, just never got the chance to. It takes 60 seconds to do that right now. Day 2 is, today as you're walking out of the gym or when you're around somewhere, go find 3 pieces of trash outside to pick up because it's just the right thing to do. Mm-hmm. Or hold the door open for somebody today, or go on a 15-minute walk. And so each day has all of these elements of shooting and really teaching them the very best research-backed ways that I've spent a ton of time developing to make sure they get better at the actual craft and skill they're trying to get better at by downloading a shoot training app. But also, how do I make them stronger, happier people? Because that will in turn lead to higher performances for them. And so that's the format, that's the thing. And they don't get the next workout until they complete the one before, so it doesn't become overwhelming where they see, so they're missing it every day. Yeah, so do it at your own rate, but all the days are going to kind of complement each other as you build up. And it's going to be 365 days if you work out every day. If you don't, then maybe you stretch out, you work out every other day, and now you have 2 years worth of workouts and things to learn and things that will improve your overall wellness. Nice. It's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot, and it's something I'm so proud of in developing it and letting it sit like this for so long. I can't believe it's really here. It was 2 weeks ago we released the beta.
Nice. Congrats.
Crazy. Yeah.
Let's go.
Thank you. Yeah, it's crazy.
Congrats. I love I love how you're thinking about the holistic player in the person, the athlete. I don't think a lot of coaches feel like they have time to focus on, is this athlete happy? How can I help them become happy or more mentally, better mental health, right? As they're going through just trying to become better at their sport. It does get there's a lot of pressure sometimes for young athletes, and I think that's really a cool piece. What'd you call it? The light?
Active light.
Active light.
Yeah.
Active light. Love it. So how can people get a hold of the app?
So yeah, it's in the App Store and Google Play Store. Shoot Training app is what it's called, and you can download it for free. And then inside of it, there's the beta test, and then a couple of other resources that I offer. If you want to book a deep dive shot breakdown with me, that comes with 30 days of training and feedback inside of the app and custom programming. Or there's like my ultimate diagnostic tool that I made for coaches to help understand how to shape their shooters and what's going wrong and what to prescribe for these different things and what cues to use. So really any tool that I'm creating is going to live inside of that app for coaches, athletes, parents as a resource.
Sweet. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Sick.
Yes, go. Got the app flowing?
Bro, and that's the thing that's going to help me, not have to be on the road. Because doing the math, by the time I am going to stay on the road for one more summer at least, but that'll be over 1,000 days on the road.
Woo! Oh yeah, you got 850 what?
850-ish. I don't know, somewhere around there.
Lost count.
Yeah,
out here killing it.
But this is the thing I've been building towards for the last 3 years.
So dope. Congratulations for sure for seeing it through. I know it's hard. It's hard to see things through, especially in entrepreneurship, because you have to do so much to keep the business going, and then that type of project has to have a lot of care, all that. So great job.
I also have an incredible team around me too.
Great job, team.
Just beautiful people, and I catch myself dang, Tina, why are Tina and James working harder than me right now? Let me tighten up.
So dope.
Grab my laptop, and that's a great feeling as well, is having people who just care about what you're building too. That's been huge.
Awesome. That's a good thing for anybody that's watching and wants to build a business or some type of business in sports, is do as much as you can at the beginning to get the ball going, get your brand going, but also don't hesitate to hire people that can actually help you.
And learning how to create your processes. Super simple. Anybody who's building a business, just record yourself. Screen record yourself, creating whatever it is that you have to create over and over again. Somebody somewhere is whatever you're building, you have to build a new landing page, or you have to build a new marketing email, or you have to do this or that. Screen record yourself doing that, and now you have training, and now you never have to do that task again. So simple. do it more often, and don't be afraid to delegate, especially the small tasks. As soon as I was able to let go of some of those and be patient with the person I was training, it takes about 3 months to really get somebody in the groove, and you're going to feel like, okay, they're not getting it, about 90 days in or about 60 days in, and you just keep it moving. Give them about 3 months of grace, and find good people who care about doing a good job, who can actually do the job.
Yeah.
If you can find those 3 things in people, then your team is going to be sick.
Sweet. And that allows you, like when you delegate, that allows you to go back into your creative mode, right? Your coaching, like that's what you do best. That's what you love. That allows you to go back into that more instead of behind the scenes admin and all that stuff.
Yeah. Just preach. Testify.
Yes, go. All right, Coach, tell us about changing the game. Changing the game, right?
Changing the game.
Yes.
So now it's the Changing the Game Foundation. Changing the Game started last spring. I was asked to speak at a player development conference. The first one I was ever asked to speak at, and dude, they were already player development coaches that were really well known that were speaking there. And I mean, Phil Handy, Gannon Baker, Rob Fodor, who's the shooting coach from the Miami Heat, Candace Wiggins, who's...
Cybersecurity is one of the fastest growing, lucrative, and important industries in tech today. If you are interested in starting a cybersecurity career, start with Level D Careers. Josh Madiker teaches a great course on how to get your first role in cybersecurity. I've taken this course myself, you guys, and it is everything you need to start your cyber career from A to Z. You have access to a Discord where you can ask the instructor questions directly. You get to connect with other students having success, build your cyber projects portfolio, receive study questions for cyber certifications, and resume and interview prep. Click the link in the bio or use promo code EARNIE, EARNIE 10 to get 10% off your cyber course.
Former WNBA, awesome. I think she's in the Hall of Fame now. And so they asked me to speak, and I was like, why? Like, why me? And, but I was like, absolutely, I'd love to do that. Tell me what you need to speak about. Tell me what you need me to speak about. I can talk teaching methods, skill acquisition. Rob probably already has a shooting science thing, so what do you need? And so they said, we're really noticing that in every event we've run, that all these conferences are like 95, 99% male in the audience. And so how do we get more women in these spaces? And I said, you have more female representation. Mm-hmm. If you want women to show up to your events, then you need to have women represented at your events. Mm-hmm. And so they said, okay, that's great. Like, yeah, so you're going to speak if that's good with you. And I said, what do you want me to speak on? And they said, can you please speak on the women's experience in coaching? And I said, okay, I got you, no problem. And so I spent the next 6 weeks interviewing hundreds of women, coaching everything from, my friends that were coaching in the NBA and the WNBA, the NFL, to my friends who were coaching their 4th graders, like Tiny Tots soccer team. Okay. But all women who were coaching, and I asked them that same question, and everybody pretty much had the same answer. And so I showed up, and the message I gave was simple. I introduced myself. I said, y'all are probably wondering what I'm doing here next to all these people. So I told them who I was and some of the success that I'd had, and so built some credibility a little bit. Yeah. And then shared the story of how I got there, and that I was asked, what is the women's experience in coaching? And to be honest, the women's experience in coaching is being asked to speak at a player development conference about what it's like to be a woman, and not my expertise that everybody else here got to talk about. In truth with love, if you guys want to empower my voice, ask me about basketball. That's how we go about changing the game. And that was really well received by the audience. I got a lot of flowers from the audience, and it was not at all well received by the organizers, who never paid me. And not only that, but like 5 months later, I got a back charge on my card from the hotel they put us up on that I left for incidentals, for a room they never covered either.
Wow.
And so I sat with that for a while, and then I just had this moment. I was staying in a yurt in Montana next to a river of flowing water, and I had to walk down this big hill to get there, and at nighttime I had to like talk loudly so all the bears knew to just stay away. And I remember just sitting with it and having that silence and room to marinate and think, and I just flipped the table and was like, I'm gonna run my own conference then. Like, if they can do it, like, and I'm gonna run my own conference, and it's gonna be completely women led, and I'm gonna run it at the women's Final Four. And I had 7 months to do it. And so then I emailed Nancy Lieberman and her people and said, look, this is what I'm putting together. It's the first completely women-led coaching conference. There's, coaching and player development conference. There hasn't been one in player development. It's 2024.
That's crazy.
And this is what I'm trying to do. Nancy, are you in? And she said, yeah, I love it. I'll be in. Here's my fee. And I said, well, I don't have that fee right now. but if you're willing to take payments, I will make it happen. And so Nancy and her team, they trusted me. They trusted I was going to figure it out.
Yeah.
And so then I just built. I called up 9 of the most impressive women that I know who are all serving basketball in very different ways. One is a former sports psychologist from the San Antonio Spurs, who now is the president of the American Association of Sports Psychology. One was a biomechanist who's created her own technology of motion capture to help athletes understand and coaches understand movements and prevent injury. There was San Dixon, who runs It's Her Shot for Dick's Sporting Goods as the director of camps all over the country. There's Jess Roz, who is a movement specialist that works with NBA college players, that's built a huge following. There's I could go off on Marky Freeman, Virgil Bustos, Beth Munoz, all of these people who are, impressive in their own right. And I told them the story and I said, I want you to be on this team. I want to do it at the Final Four, and I'm going to cover everything. I'm going to pay you. I'm going to get you there, and I got you. And every single one of them did not hesitate. They said, what do you mean? Of course, I'll be there. And so then it was up to me to build it. And honestly, Ernie, it was the hardest thing I've ever done. The hardest thing I've ever done. I ate ramen noodles and eggs for 7 months.
Wow. Because
I had to pay my team to help me build it, and I had to pay the speakers, and I had to pay Nancy, and I had to find the venue. I moved to Cleveland for 2 months leading up to the Final Four just to network, put butts in seats, and I was still, paying for it, months after the thing ended. And being there, I think back to being there, having the staff there and the love and the connection that we prioritized, because that was the message I gave our speakers was it's not about us. Every player development conference I've ever been to, it's been a series of, and not always, I've seen some very good speakers as well, but a lot of the time it can tend towards speakers jumping up on stage and saying, look at me. Where I was like, I don't want that. I want us to jump on stage and say, look at all of you and what you're building and how important you are to this craft, even if it feels like, you're just teaching youth basketball. Excuse me. You're teaching the future, and you do belong here. And the connection, we limit the number of coaches that we allow in so that everybody can know each other by name. And it's just different. It's not a money grab type of thing. It's no, we want to pour into you as humans. And so the vision was really clear in that way. So we did it at the Final Four in Cleveland, and it's really hard to really put into words the entire apex of everything, of building, of having that experience, of not letting it of letting it make me flip a table rather than having me lay down. And, there was just so much that went into it. For that, my Marky Freeman was one of my speakers, and she's like, I like fangirl over Marky. She's
great,
special. Yeah, you know Marky.
Yeah, worked a PGC camp that she directed a couple years ago. Yeah,
I mean, she is just the best of us, right? And I remember her sort of like grabbing me on my shoulders after the conference. We were about to go sort of to a networking event at the Final Four, and she goes, "Brianna, I don't think you understand what you have done here." And I was like, maybe it's better that way. Maybe it's better that way.
Tell me.
But that's what changing the game is. We're keeping this core team of incredible women, and we're going to follow the location of the Final Four each year. And you know, when I ran it the first year, I didn't know what I was doing at all. This, reference back to being in business and not knowing what you're doing at all. And so I ran it under my LLC, where this year we changed it into a nonprofit. So we, will hopefully be able to find sponsors to get behind the event a little bit easier than last year. And last year we found amazing people that got behind it, even though I was operating as an LLC. And so now changing the game is a foundation. So we're not only raising money for this event, the Final Four, that's going to serve coaches of women's basketball. Right now we're working on a project in Jamaica where we're sponsoring a coach. We're granting a coach several different rounds of fundraising because he's building one of the first youth academies in Jamaica. And he's pairing it with like literacy programs to make sure these kids are not just like hoopers but educated, because she was sharing with me, he was like, how athletic Jamaicans are.
Yeah.
And he was like, why aren't they playing basketball? And I was like,
man,
bro, that's true. Like
beatnuts, man.
Running gun fast breaks. Like, I get it.
Yeah.
And so supporting him in his mission, the Women's Premier Basketball Association, we've been able to raise money for that pro league out of the Bay to be the first U.S. team to represent America in like FIBA international tournaments on an international scale. And so with changing the game, the way we've built it is like anybody that's trying to serve women in basketball in any way, shape, or form, like now all of the events that I run, the reason I built the app, right, is so that I can have that perhaps be what turns my business, so that everything else we can do through this foundation and just put good out into basketball. And so that's what Changing the Game Foundation is. That's where it started. That's where it is now. And now we're just in a fundraising round for specifically for the Changing the Game Foundation and for our friend Michael Morgan is his name, the coach who's trying to start this academy in Jamaica, and then for the Women's Premier Basketball Association. Those are our three main events and people we're working towards building for impact.
That's crazy. That's a lot of impact. A lot of impact. Just you having a coaching conference at the women's NCAA tournament. That's all women, and it's 2024, right? And it hasn't been done is crazy, and mind baffling. So like what you're doing is like it's really, really big, really, really big. That's why Marky was like, do you know what you did? Because I feel like when you said it, I was like, dang, it hasn't been done yet, and like people like yourself and the other ladies that you joined forces with, thank you for opening that door and just being the first to do it. And there's a lot of people that are gonna want to jump on and help for sure.
Yeah,
it's always like you have to have the guts to get something started so that people can see the seed and see what you're doing, and then people just start, I feel like, wanting to join, and helping you out. So
yeah,
I know it's tough.
Yeah, it is, man. It is.
Hang in there, but
like,
it's amazing to hear. I want to help some type of way.
Bro, just come.
Okay.
Tampa Bay.
Let's go.
Tampa Bay 2025. And we're doing the mixer on the beach. I'm from Austin, Texas.
Not the beach.
On the beach. I'm from Austin, Texas. So, like, we're having live music at the mixer. Like, every piece, every minute of those 2 days, like, I personally tailor for connection. Like the reason you go to conferences and stuff is yes, to learn, absolutely, and to take away notebooks full of tangible things you can do, but to connect. How many jobs have been created from the Changing the Game conference? How many people have worked with each other across the United States, how many coaches got hired, how many sponsors got new customers that are recurring revenue for them. Like everybody at that conference was like, oh no, this is a community. Like we got each other. We're all in this like for one purpose, and that is to flip the culture of what basketball looks like from youth all the way through high school, college, pro, what coaching looks like, what the standards of coaching are, what we accept and what we don't accept from coaches. And it's starting at this conference with this group of women that are just the dream team of coaches and professionals in the space, pouring into the people at all levels. And we had people there that were, I could go on about it, but we had people there that weren't even basketball coaches. Like volleyball coaches from Canada were like, oh no, this is amazing. Like we want to go. And they got value out of it. And then, one of my speakers was hired by them to go speak at their volleyball organization. Nice. Just the sense of community and love and trust and connection that lived there was, it was really, really special. So Tampa Bay, 2025. We'll see you there.
Ooh,
okay.
Tampa.
All right.
You heard it.
Better weather than Cleveland. Okay. All right. Yeah.
Crazy. Oh my gosh. Coach, really quick, can you talk a little bit more about the Women's Premier League? What's the name of it? Women's
Premier Basketball Association.
Premier Basketball Association. Okay.
Yep.
And talk about that, but like, why is that so special so people can really understand?
The WPBA, they're the first Black women-owned FIBA certified league in California. I think perhaps in the U.S., but I know for sure in California. And Fatima A., who created that league, she created it for women's college basketball players who graduate, who finish their college career, and they really want a chance to go play overseas and fulfill their dream of being a pro, but just don't know how. And so she's provided a space. She's created 8 teams that she manages, which is just insane. That she's done this while she's also a pro. I don't have enough good things to say about Fatima, but she created this league for these players that have this dream of playing overseas, don't know how to get there. So she provides film, stats, connections to agencies, all of those things where women can go and play really high-level basketball in Oakland, supported by the community of Oakland. And she's gotten, dozens of women their first chance at playing overseas and actually getting paid to play a game. And so that's changing the game.
Yes.
That's what the whole foundation, at the bottom line is like, we're in this for change. We're in this to help people. That's what nonprofits do, right? We're not looking to profit. We're looking to use everybody else's money together to just help everybody thrive. And so that's what Fatima's building out there in the WPBA is really special. Bringing in different development coaches, getting the games live streamed, having, their stories told on the social media. The WPBA there's several semi-pro leagues and like, D leagues, if you will, G leagues of women's basketball that are popping up here and there. And it is by far the best one, the most well-ran. And she's, looking to expand, I think, eventually and have these, these sort of places and spaces where teams overseas can find players. And that's another project that, we're really, really excited about supporting.
That's awesome. Well, you are doing some really, really cool work. I didn't even know about the nonprofit, so I'm glad we got to chat about that. And congratulations on your app. And just continue to keep being a light to these coaches, these parents, these athletes. I can see like the passion that you have. And I was looking at some of your Instagram like reels, and I was looking at the comments, and there's parents that are just, they love you. Coaches, the other coaches are loving you too. So it's really, really cool to see your work.
Man,
so
thank you so much.
Thanks for being on the show. Glad I got to meet you finally. She's been dodging me, y'all.
It's fine. Thank you for having me. This is my first like in-person podcast situation. I feel very V-profesh.
Sweet.
V-profesh.
Sweet.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome. Any last little remarks or closing remarks?
Yeah.
Asks to the people?
yeah, I think if you're listening to this and you have any interest in improving your shot, obviously, you know, I built the training app to serve all levels at the same time, which sounds bananas, but it can really work that way. And then secondly, I just want to give a huge thank you to you for building this platform, and you've shared, you know, a little bit of your story with me and how you're building your brand and doing that by helping others build theirs. And I think there's something to be said about your heart for that, and like why that's going to work is because you're making all of this that you do about the people you can serve, and like that just resonates from you. So thank you for bringing me here.
I appreciate you. Thank you, Coach. All right, you guys. See you when I see you. Peace. Bam.